And talking about free speech, them doing this gag order on President Trump, completely unlawful, should have never happened in the first place, but they're trying to shut him up. This is what you need to do in a communist nation. Shut up your political rivals. They've done it in the past in communist nations, and these Democrats, I'm willing to bet they're saying, well, you know what? Well, yeah, communist nations in the past, they've all done it, but we can do it better. We can silence Trump using the court system. We can silence Trump using the law. We can weaponize it against President Trump. And that's exactly what's happening. I've constantly said it. Everybody's been saying it. If they can take something in the federal government and weaponize it against the American people, they will do it. And now, apparently, you can't even ask tough questions, especially if you're in the halls of Congress. Watch this one. Look at this. This is in the halls of Congress. We're walking around and asking questions, but you can't ask about tough questions. Listen to this.
Now this, happening moments ago, Hillary Vaughn caught up with squad member Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. And Hillary joins us now. Hillary, you asked the Congresswoman about her stance on Israel. How did that go over?
Well, Ashley, we had a few follow-up questions. Ilhan Omar is one of about a dozen House Democrats that have called for a ceasefire in Israel's war with Hamas. So we had a few follow-up questions about what that policy in practice would actually look like. Here's how it went.
Congresswoman, you called for a ceasefire. Are you okay with Hamas terrorists continuing to exist? Do you think that Israel should just lay down their arms and not try to get the hostages out of Gaza? How can Israel have a ceasefire with terrorists whose entire mission is to wipe out their existence?
Please. You're blocking the elevator. She's got.
How can they have a ceasefire if they're trying to wipe out this crazy lady? Don't worry about it.
So,
and you know what? That's awesome. I remember when Ben Bergquam and I, we would go to the Capitol and we would walk the hallways like that, and we would ask these tyrants, these politicians questions. You know what they would say to Ben Bergquam and myself? Oh, you're being activists. You're acting like activists. And you know what I would tell them? I said, no, you're dinosaur media. We are asking the questions that you refuse to ask. We're asking the questions that the American people want to know. And now I just call them government state media. But kudos for her for going in there asking questions. They don't, and it's really crazy because these people supporting Hamas, supporting terrorism, supporting Trans Tifa, supporting BLM, they don't want to answer any questions when they're tearing the country apart, trying to tear the world apart. Now you become a problem. You're the bad one. You're just a mad woman, nasty woman. Listen to this.
We didn't really get any new comments or guidance from her on what she hopes to see after a ceasefire, if there would be any hope of getting the hostages out of Gaza, and what that would look like for Israel's defenses. Would they have a guarantee that Hamas would never attack them again? But we didn't get any further explanation from the Congresswoman, but we'll keep trying. Ashley?
You know what, Hillary? Very proud of you. You're not a crazy lady, and it makes me mad when politicians like Omar make statements on social media, but then won't talk to a reporter such as Hillary Vaughn. So you keep on stalking in the hallways of Congress.
Yeah. Ilhan Omar called her a crazy lady. Called her a crazy lady because she's asking tough questions. And I told y'all before, when Ben Bergquam and I, we used to walk through the hallways of Congress asking these people tough questions. They say, oh, you're just being an activist. Or you're instigating. You're instigating. How is it was she instigating? I mean, shouldn't we all be able to hear from Ilhan Omar supporting Hamas? And I've said this multiple times. Anybody holding any political position throughout the United States of America, and I can care what it is, if you're a daggum dog catcher, and you're supporting Hamas, you should be removed from that position immediately. You understand what I'm saying? Not that being a dog catcher is a bad thing. I thought about doing it one time, It's not a bad thing. But the point is, you should be removed if you're supporting an open terrorist organization. Ilhan Omar is doing that. Rashida Tlaib is doing that. AOC is doing that. You have other members in Congress doing that. They're talking about giving aid to Hamas. Joe Biden's doing it too. Joe Biden now, he's wanting to give $100 million, not only to Ukraine, but to Hamas. And he put it in the deal. Saying, well, if we're going to give aid to Israel, we have to give aid to Ukraine too, people. Let's just slide it all in there. Let's slide it all in there. But I'm going to be honest with y'all. Israel, they really don't need the money. They don't need the finance because Israel is filthy rich. They got natural resources, gold, silver, everything you can think of under the sun. They have it right there in Israel. And that's part of the reason why the Arab nation, a lot of the Arab nations want that location because it's filthy rich in resources, natural resources. Other than what the Bible says, that there's 14 acres of dirt. Literally, there's 14 acres of dirt that these evil people want to take from Israel. 14 acres. Have you ever heard of the Mount of Olives? That's what see, for these people, it's not a political battle for Israel. It's a spiritual battle. This is literally spiritual. It's all about God because God said that he's going to make that where his throne is. That's where he's going to make his throne. And that's what it's really about. Now, watch this one. And you know what? I really need to try to find some time at some point to be able to go back to D.C. to walk the halls with my buddy Ben Bergquam. He was just there when they was having all of these riots. But I want y'all to listen to this. I want y'all to listen to this one because now you have another reporter walking through the hallways asking, what's his name, Colin? Listen to this because he's literally saying that this is federal property. This is the federal government. The U.S. Constitution, I'm paraphrasing this part here, the U.S. Constitution holds no water in these halls. So you being a reporter, you are not allowed to ask questions. You're not allowed to do this. This is so bizarre to me because if someone said that to me and they're a member of Congress, I'll say, well, wait a minute. You're violating the oath that you supposedly took. You should be removed immediately. That would be my response. But at the same time, I'm going to ask the questions. Listen to this, everybody. This is beautiful.
Congressman Allred, do you regret calling for the release of millions of dollars to Hamas?
You're on federal property. You can't do this here.
Congressman Allred, do you regret calling for the release of millions of dollars to Hamas?
You really can't do that.
The response should be just no. Wouldn't everybody agree right now that's watching this? If you're being asked a question, can you respond about your support to Hamas? The answer just should be, look, I don't know who told you that, but I would never support a terrorist organization. Be through with it. Be through with it. But he can't say that. Why? Because these tyrants, they're supporting a terrorist organization. Can someone enlighten Will Johnson what the U.S. Constitution says when you have an organization or a group of people that's in politics that's supporting a domestic terrorist group or even a foreign terrorist group, if they're supporting the enemy, wanting to give aid to the enemy, literally giving aid to the enemy. Can someone enlighten Will Johnson what it says? I already know. Do you?
Dollars to Hamas.
You really can't do that.
Congressman Allred, do you regret calling for the release of millions of dollars to Hamas?
You really
I'll
can't
get the
do that
Capitol
in
Police for
here.
you.
Do you regret voting against Iron Dome funding as Hamas attacked Israel with rockets aimed at civilians?
You're on federal property. Stop doing this.
Why are you standing with Hamas over Israel?
All right.
Why are you supporting Biden's open border policies?
We'll get the Capitol Police for you.
Why did you funnel taxpayer dollars to a group hosting drag shows for children?
And he just keeps walking like this, right? Just keep walking. I don't know who the reporter is that was asking these questions, but kudos to that reporter asking tough questions of these idiots that are in Congress. This shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't even be allowed to hold the position any longer. The Constitution basically tells us that if you are giving aid to the enemy, it's treasonous. Giving aid to Hamas is giving aid to the enemy. They keep saying death to America. So it's the same thing with Iran. Wait a minute. Didn't Joe Biden just give them $6.6 billion so they can engage in this war? And now they're all saying, well, the money is still frozen in Qatar. Well, how did he unfreeze it? You know what? I hear them say that, well, the money's still frozen in Qatar. They actually don't have access to the money. What? So they say, well, okay, well, the money's there. We know we have the money. At some point, we're going to get it. Joe Biden released it September 11th, 2023. Never forget that. And then now we have all of this happening. And all right, let me tell you something else. I was actually having a conversation with someone, and someone told me that on Fox News, they were saying that if President Trump was in office, it would be worse than it is right now. I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? If President Trump was in office, this wouldn't be happening. the Ukraine war wouldn't be happening. They wouldn't be attacking Israel right now. What have you been smoking?
You like the content Will Johnson is producing? To stay informed and up to date with the current events, go ahead and hit the thumbs up and subscribe to see more videos like this one. Also, to find Will Johnson, visit www.uaf.media.